Okay. Okay. Hello everybody. Today I will be showing you how to remove the lower intake plenum on a 92 f150 with a 5.0. The first thing, and probably the easiest thing that you're going to do, if you haven't already, you're going to want to unplug all these injectors. But in my previous videos where I removed the upper intake plenum and the valve cover here, we've already done that. So if you need to see how to get to this point, you can go watch my other two previous videos. But the easiest thing right now is these bolts holding the fuel rail on. There's 4 of them, one here, one down here, and it's the same on the other side. Okay, so I've realized this thing needs to come off, and probably this distributor. We're going to go ahead and do this distributor. It's got 2 clips on each side. Just pry them back and they'll snap off. There are diagrams online and you can figure out which cylinder goes to which one on this distributor cap. But it can be kind of confusing sometimes. I did it that way last time I had this apart, so I think that's just what I'm going to do this time. You also want to take note of which way this rotor is facing. I don't know, I guess some of them you can put on backwards, but since I got this video, I know which way it's going. And it looks like on this it can only go in one way anyway, because it's got that hole where this thing on the end goes. And then you can take this plastic housing off just with some, you can just pull this plastic housing away. Probably want to keep all the common pieces together. Those screws look like they'll just stay in there, but also put the rotor with it and the cap. Last time on this one, I know I took out this distributor. On my 5.8 I managed not to, but it was pretty difficult, so I'll probably just take this back out again, and because I don't think it was possible on this one last time I had it apart. But so there's this wiring right here, just disconnect it, and the only thing holding that distributor down is this little clamp here. There's a bolt that goes in it. Loosen that bolt and you'll be able to pull this distributor out. Okay, so I've got a swivel extension on a couple other extensions, and I use a 1/2-inch socket. It fit on there, even though I know it's probably not the right size. It's probably metric or something, but I broke it loose, so now you can just loosen it with your fingers. I think you need to take it off completely to be able to pull this out. You'll also want to, even though there might be like an area that's not covered in dirt from where this clamp is, mark where it was so you'll have a good idea where it goes when you put it back on. Okay, so I've made my little mark up here to line these two parts up, because it will rotate when you pull it out, and it will rotate back when you put it in, because those gears kind of twist in there. And then I'm just going to go off of the clean versus unclean down there. So now I'm ready to pull this out. Alright, and I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave it just like this. So hopefully when I put it back in, it should line back up. So I'm going to put this somewhere where I know not to mess with it, or hopefully no one touches it. So now that is out of the way, now we can probably start messing with all this stuff over here. There's a bolt here, a bolt back there. I don't think I put a nut back on that one. And then there's one on the outside here too. And I think that's it. Of course, I've only got one nut holding it on, so that's all I gotta undo. And it's only finger tight too. Okay. And you're gonna wanna unplug everything. Be careful with these vacuum hoses. They can be brittle and you don't want them to start cracking or break. So just gently disconnect everything. So once everything's disconnected, all the wires and vacuum lines, you should be able to lift up on the inside part here and then push it, or no, pull it in. And I've still got a couple stuff hooked up, but I can just kind of hang this out of the way here gently. And so there we go. Now we have access to these other bolts, and we can pull up on this and remove it too. So here are where the two bolts are for this, the fuel rail over here. And of course we haven't been messing over here either, so we've got to disconnect all of these injectors as well. Now that everything is clear of the fuel rail and we've got our injectors unplugged and the fuel rails unbolted, we can go ahead and gently pry them up and off. And we've already been messing with this thing, but you're also going to want to make sure that you've relieved any pressure in your fuel line. So there that comes. There's that side. Gently pry on this side. There we go. Both sides are off, so now you can just kind of lift this up out of the way. And I'll probably use some zip ties or something to tie it up here and just keep it out of the way. The next thing I'm going to do is disconnect this thing. It actually has just a plastic cap on it. I don't know why. But you can go ahead and take that off and undo this clamp. This clamp, there is a sensor in it. I think that can stay in it though. But this tube here, I think you'll probably have to remove. It should just twist out you might need a pipe wrench or something. But that comes out, and then this, you'll need a big old socket, and it'll twist out too. I've got those two coolant hoses disconnected. Since I think, if I remember right, it was a pain in the butt to get this to come off last time. I think I had to heat it up and everything, but I think since I've done it recently, it's loose. So at least for me, I can just get something on this down here and it just twists off. I've got that long tube off. I can go ahead and put a socket on this and twist this off. You may not have to take this part off though. I think the reason why I took it off last time is it was in the way of this and I could not get anything on it well enough, and I especially did not want to break the bolt inside there. So I went ahead and took this off last time, and since I've already halfway there now, I'm just going to go ahead and do it again. A 1-inch socket fits on there perfectly. And there we go. It came close to hitting this part, but it clears it, so no issue there. Now I am going to go ahead and disconnect these two hoses from the thermostat housing on the front of the engine here. Okay, so I've got both of those hoses disconnected from the thermostat housing. There's a wire that goes to this sensor here. You can just pull it off. There's also a plug right here. You're going to want to disconnect this. Okay, I think that's everything. And now we can start unbolting the actual bolts that hold the plenum on here. There should be 6 of them, I believe, on each side. All we have left to do now is disconnect all of the bolts that are holding this plenum down to the heads and the engine itself. Okay, I've got all the bolts loosened up, so now we are ready to pull this plenum off. It'll probably be harder than that was. It's probably because I've done it recently. That was so easy for me, but last time I had to pry it off, and but anyway, here are the bolts that you need to take out. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 back here. And then on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 down there. So make sure you get all of those loosened up. You don't want to forget one and then pry on the plenum and crack it or something. But anyway, now that we've got this done, I am ready to go ahead and start on the heads, and that will be my next video.